super excited you guys are here. If you haven't, had a chance to do the poll, I'll keep it open for a little bit and then, kind of share that with you. But what it sounds like, at least so far, is that we've got a bunch of beginners and a bunch of intermediates, no advanced, which is great because this is really meant for those of you who are, just getting started implementing AI. So that's great. And all right, so I'm going to get started. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Stacey Wisniewski, and I'm the founder and chief marketing strategist of Advisors. So this was a question actually before everybody got on, but before we start, so you guys are going to learn a lot today in an hour. And if you have questions during the webinar, please put them in the chat window. I am solo flying today, so I'm not manning the chat, but I promise you at some point during the webinar, probably at the end, I'll answer questions. And if I don't get to your question, don't worry, I'll send a full Q&A document out afterwards. We only have an hour, so I may go fast. It's sort of, I tend to talk fast, but the bottom line is I just want you guys to walk away with a ton of value. And if you feel like you missed something or I'm going fast and something's confusing, it's okay. You're going to get the replay link. You're going to get a copy of the deck, so you can revisit any part of the webinar that you miss. All right, so stay till the end bonus. So this is a big one. So one of the things that I'll be offering you guys today is a workshop, a half-day workshop. The value is about $3,000. And if you stay till the end, we're going to do a quick giveaway, and one of you guys will walk away with it. And the two of us will be working side by side to personalize your chat GPT and get you GPTs that are going to save you hours and hours of time. All right, so who am I? You guys, some of you guys know me, some of you don't, but I'm the founder and chief AI strategist of Advisors.AI. I've got about 25 years of strategy, marketing, and entrepreneurship experience. I launched Advisors LLC, which was a digital marketing and content agency based in DC back in 2018. And then in 2025, this year, very beginning of this year, I pivoted. I saw kind of the writing on the wall with AI and the disruption that was happening with digital marketing, and I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't want to sit on the sidelines and watch it happen. I wanted to lead it. And so I got certified in AI strategy and implementation. I've launched Advisors.AI, and now I'm helping founders, executives, lean teams define, design, and deploy AI systems. And it's everything from what we're going to learn today, which is just the beginning, but where I see the most value for executives today, honestly, is really doing a lot of the human in the loop GPTs that you can do in Chat GPT, and turning, AI into very, very quick ROI. All right, so for our agenda today, we're going to go through 3 different sections. We're going to talk about prompting best practices. And just so you guys know, there's a prompt like a pro guide that I built. It has all of the best practices in it, and I've provided a link here, and you guys are going to get a copy of the deck. So all of those best practices are in there, and you guys just get that for free for joining today. And then master prompt, we're going to talk about what is a master prompt, why is it important, and how to create your own. And then we're going to get to the meat of it, which is custom GPTs. We're going to talk about what are the elements of GPTs, how did I build one of my favorite ones, and then we're going to build 2 GPTs live. All right. So let's get started. So prompting. So prompting is literally the foundation for any interaction that you're going to have with any LLM, whether it's Chat GPT or Claude or whichever one that you guys decide is your favorite. I like Chat GPT just because of the functionality, and I've gotten deep into it, so I use it literally on a daily basis. But if you have others that you like better, this stuff works. A lot of the other LLMs have their own GPTs, quote unquote, and agents and things like that. But let's start here. So prompting, what's the ACE prompt framework? So it's basically assign, context, and execute. You can see on the slide. So what you're going to do every time you talk to a GPT is you're going to say, who should the AI be? You're going to give it a persona for that particular chat, that particular custom GPT. In this case, I say something like, you're a cold email copywriter with 10 plus years experience writing outbound emails that convert, right? So now the AI knows, okay, that's the perspective I'm going to be coming from. Next, you're going to provide it context. Who are you? Who am I? What is my goal? What is my target audience? So now the AI knows, okay, this is the perspective I'm coming from, and this is the perspective that you're coming from. And then finally, what do you want the AI to do? The chat GPT to do? And basically it's, you want it. So in this particular instance, write 3 cold emails under 100 words that speak to the pain points of lack of time, AI knowledge, and resources to get things done, leading to an inability to scale their businesses efficiently. So let's just say that, I'm doing this for myself. You always want to provide, what is it doing? What's the format that you want it to give you at the end? And then any additional details. It's an iterative process. So prompting is an iterative process. You're not going to get it on the first one, right? But you're going to fine tune it over time, and you're going to learn what works. Here's a couple of my favorite best practices, which number one, anytime you work with ChatGPT, give it a tone and give it a structure. So be concise, be funny, be professional. Something I love to do is, let's say I'm surfing the web and I read something from Harvard Business Review, or I read something from an industry, guru in my space. And I really like the way that they either, their writing, their framework that they're using from strategy. Just provide a link, provide a URL to the chat GPT, and it will literally create the same structure for you in the chat that you're doing. You want to attach maybe one of your latest reports and say, use this report structure, and provide me the same structure in the output that you deliver. You may want to make sure that the GPT slows down and is listening to what you have to say. I know it sounds like I'm treating the GPT like it's a human, but it's good because basically this way, if you ask one question at a time, you know that the GPT is taking it and it's building upon what you're giving it. Second thing, including sources and examples. I always ask ChatGPT to give me sources and links, especially when I'm doing research or I'm writing things like ebooks or something, because that way you know that what it's giving you something that's actually true. You probably have heard of things called hallucinations, and really just what a hallucination is it's ChatGPT trying to fill in the blanks because it doesn't have enough information and sounding like it is 100% completely true. This shouldn't happen to you guys. It doesn't really happen to me very often because you're going to give it enough information when you're prompting that it's not going to go off on a tangent. But sometimes it does that when it's trying to fill in the blanks and it doesn't know the answer. You can also tell the ChatGPT, which I would suggest, to do something like, if you don't know the answer, don't guess, ask me more clarifying questions, right? Again, it's a conversation that you're having, and that'll truly get you some of the output that you want. One of the other things I love to do, because I'm a researcher, is support what I'm trying to do with research from the top consulting firms, with articles from the last 3 months. And literally, it'll go to the web, it'll go to McKinsey, and it'll go to PwC, and it'll go to all these places. It'll look at what they have in their insights, and it'll pick ones that work with your subject, and it'll bring them back. And literally, it just does that by asking it, to support it with research. And then finally, your format. You're always going to tell it what format you want to have back. Things like format this as a checklist, format this as a table, format this as an email. You might get something back, and this is where you're iterative. I want it shorter. Can you make it 100 words or less? One of my favorites is rephrase it like you're talking to a 5th grader. I like doing that sometimes when you're in an industry that uses a lot of jargon, because a lot of times, your potential customers, prospects aren't going to necessarily know the jargon that you're using. So things like rephrase it like you're talking to a 5th grader can help with that. And this is actually in Prompt Like a Pro, so you'll get it when you get the deck. But 10 best practices. So, and you'll see this when we start building custom GPTs. Basically, you're going to assign it a clear role, a persona. You're going to provide it with what's your goal in doing this. So let's say you're doing the emails, you're doing outbound, and your goal is you want to get, 10 new prospects that match your ICP or your ideal customer profile, something like that. You want to give it examples or links, like I mentioned, showing what good looks like or what you want. Specify the format, define the tone, set constraints, like if you want it to be a certain length. Say what not to include. If you have some things there, you can start broad and then iterate to get it as narrow as you want. And then again, use steps for more complex tasks, or ask me a question at a time, or ask me more clarifying questions, things like that. And then when you finally get to one that you really like, save it. And then you can just keep using it going forward. Okay, so that's kind of a quickie on best practices for prompting. Now let's move to a master prompt. So what is a master prompt or a system prompt? A master prompt is a detailed set of instructions that provides comprehensive context and guidelines about what your preferences are, maybe what your brand preferences are, and it allows you to deliver accurate, specific, and personalized responses with every interaction that you have with the GPT or with the LLM. So 3 key benefits of a master prompt: brand consistency. So when we build a master prompt, it's going to ensure all your outputs have your unique voice, your positioning. It knows your value proposition. It knows if you're off brand. It will help you with time efficiency. You won't have to write this stuff in all the time. I'll show you what I've done for a master prompt and what you guys can do in order to make it quick and easy. But it lets you focus on the strategy and not on corrections. And then finally, scalable voice. So let's say you have a team and you want to build a master prompt for your team so that every single person on your team is uploading the master prompt, the PDF, whenever it's chatting with ChatGPT, or it's using the master prompt whenever it's building a custom GPT. And that way you don't have to, be like looking over their shoulder to make sure that everything they're doing is right. Because it's got the master prompt, and ChatGPT is going to use that to create, accurate output. So how do you build a master prompt? A master prompt, it's as easy as basically gathering all your brand content. So your vision, your mission, your values, your positioning, your target audience, your messaging, and uploading it. And you'll see when we get into ChatGPT, there's a plus sign so that you can upload as many documents as you want. And it will take those documents and it will use those documents to help you create a master prompt. You want to be able to talk about what is your purpose, what is your goal every time that you're talking, and typically, like for me, for example, as a new business, as a new AI business, my goals are a lot of times going to be brand awareness, lead generation, client support, the basics, right? And then providing examples. This is a really good one. So let's say you want a GPT to be able to write content for you, and you want it to write ebooks for you. You need to be able to provide it with what good looks like. So upload a bunch of ebooks that you've written in the past, or if there's emails that have a structure that you really like, upload those emails, right? And the more you upload to a point, the better off you are. And when I say to a point, it's because you don't want to just like upload the world, because ChatGPT is going to be like, whoa, I have no idea what's going on. You want to upload the key things in a very structured way, and then mention the key things in your instructions when you're talking to ChatGPT, so it knows what it is and it knows how to use it in your master prompt. And then finally, you're basically just going to have an interview back and forth with ChatGPT. And that's how you're going to create your master prompt. So for me, what I did was I'd been using ChatGPT literally since February to build my business. And I wanted to build a master prompt. And I said, you already know a ton about me, but I want us to create a really detailed master prompt. And so we just did an interview, and ChatGPT asked me things about my brand personality, my tone and my style, my value prop, like where I see an edge, that I might have over other businesses. And it goes through a list, and it goes back and forth. And then ultimately you have this PDF that you can download that has everything in your master prompt. And every time you do anything with ChatGPT, you just upload that. Every time you build a custom GPT, you just upload that, and then immediately it knows who you are, and gives it all the context that it needs in order to move forward. Okay, so that's pretty much like the basics of prompting and master prompting. Now we're going to get into GPTs, which is the heart of our presentation today. And those of you guys that know me well know that strategy is a big thing for me. I always like to start with strategy. And so when I was thinking about my tagline for Advisors.AI, I was like, it's got to start with strategy. And so define, design, deploy. That's sort of like a proprietary technique that I use with every single thing that I do with AI. And I'm going to tell you how I use it to build custom GPTs. So define. So before we do that, let's talk about what is a custom GPT. It's basically like cloning your brain and putting it to work inside ChatGPT. So think of it like the 3 Bs. So it's built inside ChatGPT with your own goals, voice, documents, and workflows, kind of like I was mentioning before. It's beyond basic prompts because it's actually a tool that you're going to use to help you accomplish menial tasks, or maybe even not so menial, but they take up a ton of your time. And it's going to help you do that day after day after day. And it's going to get better and better and better the more you use it. And then finally, it becomes your assistant. Funny story, when I started, when I basically went and got my certification for strategy and implementation, my fiance would laugh at me because he's like, it looks like ChatGPT is your boyfriend. And I'm like, you know what, honest to God, it is, because I was so passionate about how much I could get done with ChatGPT. And so I have such a passion for it, and I want you guys to have the same, because I think once you really start to see all the things that it can do, you're going to be as excited about it as I am. So before we start building any kind of a custom GPT, we're going to want to brainstorm before we start building and ask the basic questions. So what are the tasks that I do every week or every month that I could automate? Which ones take up the most time? Which ones would make me really, really happy to be able to automate? How involved do I want to be in the process? That's going to tell you whether we do a custom GPT where you're involved in the process, or you completely automate it and do something more like an agent, which we're not going to talk about today, but that's the next step. Should I provide HITL, which is human in the loop, checkpoints throughout, which we can do with our custom GPTs, or do I just want to review it at the end, which we can do as well? Or do I just not want any involvement? And then finally, what are like 3 to 5 custom GPTs that I could implement today that I know would save me a ton of time? Right? And that's just the define part. This is something I'm really big on. And that is, when you're thinking about building custom GPTs, build from your expertise, right? You're going to want to focus on building GPTs on subjects that you know. I know it sounds like common sense, but if you don't have the domain expertise, so basically what you're trying to do with a GPT is you're trying to take what your knowledge is and put it inside ChatGPT so that it can do the tasks for you, right? But if you don't have a lot of that knowledge, you're not going to get great output back. And you're also maybe not going to know what good looks like, or maybe not be able to direct the GPT with instructions on how to get better. So, I probably have 10 GPTs, and they're all things that I know how to do pretty well. And I can just give them off to ChatGPT and know that it's going to do a good job because I've given it the right information. And then if you don't have the information and you really, really want, a GPT that does that, then just outsource it. Outsource it to somebody that's got the expertise. Okay, so here are some great examples of custom GPTs that we could build that would save you time, whether it's sales or marketing or admin. And if it's sales, it could build something like an objection handler. What are all the objections that you might receive when you're going out there for sales? Plug it into the GPT, and then you or anyone on your team might get an objection. It just types it in, and ChatGPT types back, here's the best response. Cold email generator. We kind of talked about that in the beginning. You can build one that for any of your target markets that you literally can just copy and paste in whatever CRM you're using, and make it a template. Meeting prep assistant. We're going to do something like this in a little bit called an executive briefing assistant, which I love. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Nurturing email sequence writer. You've got a potential prospect. It might not be ready to buy yet. Let's put it in a nurture sequence, and it can write all of that for you. Marketing GPTs. So these can be kind of exciting. So webinar campaign builder. Literally, you guys, I built out my entire launch campaign with this webinar campaign builder. Cross-channel, all the content I was going to use in social, in email, in ads, with partners. I mean, everything that I needed to do, I did in one campaign builder. And then I was just using project management tool like ClickUp, which I love, by the way, to let me know every day, are you on track, right? An ebook generator, social media assistant. It can write all of your social media for you if you upload your master prompt and all of your guidelines. SEO content optimizer. You could put in anything that you're writing and it'll pop back out something that's SEO optimized. Viral LinkedIn post writer. This is something that I've actually done myself, and offline I can tell you about it. It's freaking fabulous. I found a guy on YouTube that I thought was fantastic, and he had this style that he wrote these posts in, and he guaranteed you a 5x on your reach or whatever, and on your engagement. And so I literally took his transcript, I copied and pasted it into ChatGPT, and I said, help me build a custom GPT using his framework for viral LinkedIn posts. And I used one actually last week, and I got literally over 5x on my my reach. So it's really exciting. There's so much you can do. You literally it's like you think about it and you put it into a GPT. And then finally, ops admin, prompt wizard. I don't have to write any of my own prompts anymore, which can take a long time because I just build a master prompt or a prompt pro builder, and I say, tell ChatGPT what I want. I mean, if you don't have a prompt builder, you can just literally talk to ChatGPT and say, I need a great prompt. People don't know that, but you can talk to ChatGPT and ask it to give you a great prompt to then give back to ChatGPT to help you do it, and it'll do that. Monthly memo deck report creator, budget creator. Anyway, these are just various different ideas, but you can see if you can think it, if it's a workflow that you do a lot, you can build a GPT for it. All right. So we talked about define. Now we're in design, which is gathering all the inputs. Okay. So this is what a blank GPT actually looks like. Okay. So if you go into ChatGPT and you want to create your own GPT, you're going to see this blank screen. It's actually all on the left, and on the right is a preview, and it kind of previews what's going on as you're filling it in. But the key things you're going to need to know, and I sort of put them in here, is number one, you're going to create a name for your GPT. Number two, you're going to create a description. Quick, short, what does it do? 3, an image. You can either upload an image that you might have that you want the GPT to have, or you can ask, it has basically, ask DALL-E, which is its image creator, to create one, and it'll create one for you. A lot of times what I do with the ones that I create for myself is that I just put my logo in there. And that way, when I'm looking, in my Chat GPT if it's got one of my logos on it. I know it's one of the ones that I've built for myself. Instructions, it's going to be a detailed prompt. We talked about prompting. This is where that comes in. You're going to give it detailed instructions. Conversation starter, that's just something that clicks off the task. So something that it's going to ask you every time, and then you input the information and it goes. Knowledge, this is the knowledge base. This is what I was talking about with your master prompt and any other documents that you might want, or that you have, that you think the GPT would want or would need to know in order to execute this task for you. The default model. So basically, ChatGPT and other LLMs over the last 2 years, keep coming out with better and better and better models. The latest one for ChatGPT is number 5, model 5, and it's good and it's getting better every day. But if you want, personally, I just use 5 for everything, because the great thing about it is 5 is the default model. If you put that in there, it will basically look at what you're asking it to do and decide, which is the best model for me to use. The only other time I might use something else is it's called 5 thinking. And that's if I'm doing deep research. If I'm creating a research report, something that's deep, or doing data analysis that's deep, I might want 5.0 thinking. Otherwise, I would just use 5.0. These are the capabilities. So you see in number 8, these are all the things that your GPT can do. It can search the web. It can canvas, which is basically, it shows you exactly how it's thinking and goes through the process with you. That's the canvas. And then you can go in and make changes after the fact. Image generation, if you want an image to go along with any of the things that you're doing with GPT, and then a code interpreter and data analysis. There's a lot of, programmers out there that are using GPTs to help them code. And then deep data analysis, you can use that too. And then finally, actions. So actions are something we're not going to talk about today, but they're an important part of GPTs. The reason why we're not going to talk about them is they're a little bit more advanced, but just to know that if you create an action, all you're really doing is asking the GPT to go out beyond itself, beyond the data that you've provided and its own abilities with, these capabilities, and go and get information somewhere else and bring it back, or go to an automation platform like Zapier or Make. And if you don't know what those are, that's completely fine. It would go there, would get whatever you ask the automation to do, and it would bring it back into the GPT. The goal here is you don't have to leave ChatGPT. You just use your custom GPTs, and you can stay here and get all your stuff done by just, hitting the button. Okay, so those are the elements that we're going to talk about today. So and then iterating. I can't say this enough. Their first draft is not going to be your last draft. You're going to go in, you're going to get output, and you're going to be like, ooh, I really like that. Or, you know what, that was off the mark. And you're going to go back into your instructions, and you're going to make them a little bit more detailed. And let them know, hey, this was really good, so I want to add that. Or, ooh, I didn't really like that. Tell them not to do that, right? And so it's an iterative experience, but it's going to come back, ultimately, with not that much work, you're going to get something that's running, running quickly, running easily. All right, so now we're talking about deploy. So I'm so excited because I'm going to show you guys one of my favorite GPTs that I built. It's called the Mood Meowtivator. All right. You have to see it. Okay. But I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to go through the way, how I built it, how I decided what to build. I asked ChatGPT to help me build it. I copied and pasted the information into a Word document from ChatGPT. Then I copied and pasted it back into a custom GPT. For this one in particular, I didn't need a knowledge base because it was just something simple and low risk. And I just wanted to show you something easy to get started. And then I tested it and iterated, and it was done. All right, so let me show you guys. So here's how I built it, but let me take you into ChatGPT. So you can see this is already built. Okay. It's called a mood meotivator. It's basically takes my mood, makes fun of it with some kind of witty one-liner and gives me a cat meme back. Okay. I love cat memes. If you don't like cat memes, you can make a dog meme. Okay. Doesn't really matter. But this is just a fun thing for you guys to see exactly how you make a chat, make a new GPT and you make it fun. So this is the inside of the GPT. But before we do that, let me just show you. So I decided to have a conversation with ChatGPT about making a cat meme. And I said, I want to create a custom GPT that takes my mood and responds with a witty one-liner and a funny cat meme. So it came back to me and said, okay, great. You want to, create a custom GPT that does this stuff. Okay, great. Here's how you'd set it up. Gives me my prompt with my A.C.E foundation, assign, context, execute, because ChatGPT has a copy of my prompting like a pro, and I upload it and it knows how to prompt like a pro the way I want it to, and it gives me the output that way. And then it also says, okay, here's some of the other things that you can use for the settings. Here's a name, personality, sarcastic but supportive, some instructions, all of that stuff. Literally what I did was I took that stuff and I copied and I pasted it into a Word document. Okay, so here's my little cat meme. Here's the name that it decided on. Here's the description. Here's an image. And I just asked ChatGPT to create an image. And what it'll do is you can either upload one, or based on your name and your description, it'll create one for you. And I'll show you that. Instructions, literally just copied and pasted exactly what I got from ChatGPT for the instructions. And then my conversation starter. How are you feeling today? Right? So I did all that, and I'm going to show you guys inside my ChatGPT mood meotivator here. I'm going to edit it so you can see exactly what's going on. So this is the inside, and it's configured. And just so you guys can see, there's two ways to create a GPT. You can either create it with literally just like a random prompt, or you can configure it. I like to use configure because then I can be, a lot more laser focused on what the output is that I'm going to get. And it really isn't that hard. You just ask ChatGPT to help you fill in all the blanks. So here I said, here's the name, here's my description, here's the instructions that I got that I had downloaded into a Word document, then just easily loaded back, right here. Here's my conversation starter. How are you feeling today? And you can see it over here on the right. It literally creates this right side as you're doing it. How are you feeling today? So all I have to do is click on that. And I don't even have to click on it. I can just tell this GPT how I'm feeling. You can see I didn't put any knowledge base in, right? Because this one's just fun. It's easy. It doesn't need a knowledge base. Recommended model, GPT-5. I put image generation because it's going to generate an image, Canvas, and web search. I didn't do code interpreter because I don't really need code interpreter, right? So that's what I did. And then I tested it. And so I was going to show you guys. So when I tested it, which is what you do in that preview section, before you, say, yep, I'm done, this is a great one, you're going to test it. So I tested it. And I just put, I'm feeling frustrated because I didn't get enough people to sign up for my webinar, which, by the way, is completely not true. I got so many of you guys to sign up, and I literally was just excited. I'm just testing the GPT, so you guys know that. So frustration level. So how funny is this? It said, I gave it that. I said I was frustrated. It said frustration level, cat who brought you a dead mouse and you didn't clap. Maybe the next webinar needs snacks. Cats know everything goes better when snacks are involved. And then here's your meme. Right. And so it gives me this cute little cat, host webinar, humans don't come, unleash claws. And there it is at the laptop. Super cute. Okay. I can literally, go in there and use this when I'm feeling unmotivated or whatever, and it'll come back. Then I put excited because I'm about to launch my first webinar on AI to a group of 50 to 75 people. And then it came back and said, you're basically a cat discovering the red laser dot is actually catchable. May your slides land smoother than a cat on a windowsill. And then it tells me what my meme's going to look like. It generates it, and there it is. Welcome to my TED Talk about lasers, aka AI. So super cute, right? I literally did that in 5 minutes. Okay, and I know I've definitely built a bunch, but you guys can do that too. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go and we're going to build our own step by step. And what I thought I would do is, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are here in the meeting. There's a lot of professionals. I thought I would do one that's kind of marketing oriented and one that is like executive, anybody can use it oriented. And I'll just give you guys 2 different views of the GPT. So what I'm going to do, and this is what you guys will do when you're going to create your first GPT, you're going to go on the left-hand side of Chat GPT, and you're going to go in here, and it says GPTs, and you're going to click on it. Okay. And then up here on the right-hand side, it says My GPTs and Create, right? I'll just show you my GPTs. Literally, it just gives you a list of all of the ones that you've created already, right? But I'm going to create a new one. And so I can either click it from the previous screen or I can click it from here. And so what are we going to do? So this is what we're going to do. We are going to let me go back and show this on a big screen. There we go. We're going to build 2 GPTs live. Okay. We're going to build one that is a content repurposer. This is for anybody who's doing marketing, for your own business, or if that's something that you do on a daily basis, literally just taking one piece of, thought leadership content, long form content, and turning it into 10 social media posts. Like that, right? And then the next one we're going to do is an executive briefing assistant, which I think is pretty cool, either sales or executive. And basically it's something that could brief you before you walk into a meeting or a call for any prospect, any investor, any client. It would have pain points, objections, discovery questions. And then we would pop it into another tool called Gamma, and I'm going to show you that. And it'll just, boom, generate your executive brief. Okay. So let's start with our content repurposing GPT. All right. So we're going to go here, and here's our content repurposer. Okay. And I did this first just because I wanted to save time, but I just went into Chat GPT. I told it I wanted to create content repurposing GPT, and it gave me back the information, right? So it said, let's call it a content repurposer. What is the description? It turns one long form asset into 10 posts and your thought leadership into clicks. And then here's the instructions that we gave it. And it's basically, telling it who it is. It's a content repurposer, what its mission is to analyze content that you upload, and then create 5 LinkedIn posts and 5 Facebook posts. Match your brand voice, professional, confident, witty. This is my brand voice, right? But you would upload your master prompt, and with all of that information in it and all of your brand information, and it would pump it out just the way you guys want to see it. And it would focus on clicks and engagement, not just education. Each post, so this is our format, should include platform it's supposed to go to, the hook, which is the first line, right? Because you guys know on like LinkedIn and stuff, you can only really see the first line and then you have to click. So this will give you your hook, which is your first line. And then the next column will give you your body, and the next column will give you your CTA. It'll be in a CSV downloadable table. Here's my audience. Here's my tone guidelines. I just did this. I mean, I could either do it this way, or I could do it by uploading my, my Wiz Advisors master prompt. It uses some of the best practices that I like. Okay. So that is the data that I asked ChatGPT to help me with. So now I'm going to go in and I'm literally going to copy and paste what I did with ChatGPT. Okay. So here I'm configuring it. It's my content repurposer. Here's my description. Wow. Here's my description. I'm going in for my description. For me, I would do my logo. And so that's just what I'll do. But you see how it says use Dolly? It'll create one for you. And if you like it, great. If not, you can, create something else. But I would just go in and grab my logo or whatever, and it would just pop it in there. Here's my instructions. And they're fairly long, right? But you want it to be detailed. Remember, I told you want it to be detailed to hit all the right things. And if you go through my prompt like a pro, you'll know it, right? There's your instructions. And you can see on the right-hand side how it's building it for us right here. My conversation starter. Let's turn your strategic asset into 10 LinkedIn and Facebook high converting social posts. Upload your content now. Okay. So what I'm doing here, I'm doing that. All right. And I'm not going to upload a ton of knowledge, but if I was working with you guys, we would go through and we would upload all the things that we would want this content repurposer to know about you. I'm not going to do it today because I'm just, to save time, but that's what we would do. I don't need, in this case, an image generator. If I wanted it to generate an image to go with the Facebook posts or the LinkedIn posts, I could add that, but I'd rather do that later. Here's why. The narrower you are with the GPT, the better. It can focus its efforts, right? So I can take what I have here. It's going to be downloadable in a table. I can copy and paste it into, another GPT if I wanted, or into just GPT and ask it to create an image for me. So I'm not going to do image generation. I'm just going to do that. And like I said, we're not going to do actions today. We're just going to do that. All right. So now I've done all that and I want to preview it. All right. I want to preview it to make sure that it's working. So I ask it, or I don't ask it, I upload something. So let's say I upload a file. Okay. So I'm going to go and I'm going to upload a file from what I have here. Okay. AI for chief investment officers. All right. Let's just assume that that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And I'm going to say, create these social posts with the, the content that I attached. Okay. And so it's going to go and you're going to see perfect. Okay. It's already reviewed it. And I pulled out the strongest insights and case studies to craft high converting social posts. Here are 10 unique posts, 5 LinkedIn, 5 Facebook, and a CSV ready format. Right. And it knows that the hook is something that you want to hook. And, I always say this, numbers are good. So first hook for LinkedIn, only 23% of CIO's time is spent on high value activities. And they're probably going to go, yeah, that's probably true. Then the body, the rest is lost in reporting, compliance, and admin tasks. AI can shift that balance, unlocking more time for strategy and client relationships. Read the guide here, right? And like I said, if you have your own brand guidelines and all of that, we upload that. And then this gets even better, even more targeted with the way that you want it. And it gets better over time. So let's say I think this is perfect and I say create, right? It's going to say when you hit create, do you want it to only be for yourself, which is what I do for all of mine? Anyone with the link. So this would be if you want to share it with your team, let's say, or do you want to make it public? I mean, some people make theirs public and they just want the world to see it. That's not necessarily the world that I'm in. I'm doing it just for me. right? And then I'm going to hit save. And then once I hit save, it's going to have its own URL and it's going to be good to go. Okay. And that's a pretty easy one to do. We don't have a ton of time, so I'm going to go quick through this next one, but I really want to do it for you guys because I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of it. So here's the second one that I would create. All right. And it's called an executive briefing assistant, GPT. So here's one where, let's say you are an executive and you want to be able to create a briefing for yourself, for your CEO, for whoever, that'll help you win the room, win the deal, win the money, whatever. So it's acting as your personal briefing assistant. This one's helping founders and senior sales executives for high stakes delivery, discovery calls and meetings, all of that stuff, right? It's instructions. And like I said, I did this back and forth with Chat GPT. Is I wanted to support sales executives preparing for high stakes prospect, client, and investor meetings. Your job is to generate, I'm going to say, support sales executives and and founders or whatever. So basically anybody who's preparing for these meetings, prospect, client, investor meetings. You want to create a strategic brief. Here's your role. You're a hybrid strategist, researcher, and executive coach. Okay. And I worked with ChatGPT to get this back. Here's who my audience is for this GPT. And then here's how I want my output very specifically. I want it in 5 structured sections. I want company overview, buyer persona, key pain points, right? I want it grouped into, and then I want to have discovery questions grouped into strategic and tactical. Here are some constraints. Remember, I was telling you, what do you not want it to do? You want it, or what do you want it to do? You want it to use a confident tone. You don't want it to be too wordy, less than 500 words. You want to avoid any kind of jargon. You want to use public data sources where available, because it's going to go out and find these public data sources and bring them back. And if anything's missing, just base it on companies that are similar in the same industry. And then default, this is what I want it to ask every single time. So ask the user, type of meeting, what's the name of the company, what's the name of the, or the role of the person I'm meeting, and then any relevant URLs and any conversations, intel, notes, whatever, upload those, and then it'll go off and it'll create it. Okay. And then finally, I want to show you guys this version for upload to Gamma. So Gamma is an AI that creates presentations by literally you copying and pasting text into a prompt. And so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. This is how I want the format for Gamma. I asked it to do that for me, right? And then I'm done. All right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go and we're going to take this briefing and we're going to create a GPT. So I'm going to go into GPTs. I'm going to go into create, and I'm going to just go in and quickly copy and paste what we've got here. And in 1 minute, we'll have it back. Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. There we go. Then we've got our description. Here we go. Executive level prospecting. We've got, let's go back in. Perfect. We've got our instructions. And like I said, these were pretty, these were pretty detailed. Whoop, wrong one. If we were able to work together, I would help you guys write all of this stuff and you would get really, really good at it. But basically, here you go. Here's all of my instructions. I know it's a lot, but that's okay. Okay. Copy those and I paste them in here. And then last but not least, my conversation starter. So what do I want to ask every single time to get the party started? I want to say, welcome to your briefing assistant, and what I want you to drop in. Okay. And so I put it in here. Here's my conversation starter. And you can see it's building it on the right-hand side. I can add, I don't want to do it now because we're under a time crunch, but I could add an image. And then it says, now I'm gonna preview it, right? Oh, whoops. Let me do my model. There we go. I'm not going to do image generation. And I'm done. Okay, so now it says I'm going to tell it I want to have a briefing on for a prospect meeting. Prospect meeting with the president of Warner Brothers Discovery. And what's his name again? David Laszlo. Okay. I'm just doing this just to save time, but it could be anybody, right? And what it's going to do is it's going to go to LinkedIn. It's going to go to any public source and find what it needs to find and create this executive brief. So here we go. So you can see on the right-hand side, that's the canvas. So literally it did that, and it came back and said, here's the company overview. You've got David Laszlo. What does he do? He's a, media conglomerate. What's been going on recently with Warner Brothers? Well, they've got this issue where they're splitting into two companies. Who is he? Who is David? How do I know? This is his role. This is his responsibilities. What are some of his key pain points? Super valuable, right? And then I say, provide me with the gamma to create gamma outline. Okay. Let me show you guys this real quick, and then we're going to get to the fun stuff, which is the giveaway. Okay. So hold on one second. Okay. So here's our prospect briefing, right? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it from all the way from there to the end. Oops. Sorry about that. Fun. Discovery questions. Okay. And just get to there. All right. I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to go to this amazing app called Gamma. Gamma, app. Now, so what Gamma is, and I think it just launched a new version. It's like taking over the world. I love this thing. But let's just say that, we're going to create a presentation, paste in text. That's all I have to do. Paste in the text from ChatGPT. Okay. I'm pasting in the text as an outline. What do I want to do? I want to generate from notes or an outline. I hit enter, and it's going to take me into this prompt editor, and it's going to ask me, do I want it minimal, concise, extensive, detailed? Who was it for? All this different stuff. I have my own, and you can make your own branded, thing there. And then it'll ask you different styles, blah, blah, blah. And you say, that all looks great, generate. And when I click generate, it's going to take that outline that we just got from that executive brief. And while we sit here, it's going to create prospect briefing for my meeting with David. And it's going to have everything that I want. It even look, it even went and got a Warner Brothers picture. It's going to have, his persona, all of this different stuff. Right. And while we sit here, 30 seconds, a minute later, it's going to have presentation. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take the presentation that I get from Gamma and I'll download it to PowerPoint and I'll massage it and I'll make it, because a lot of this is just a ton of information, right? But you guys can see. So it's amazing. And you can do all of this and build all this stuff for yourself and save yourself just so much time. So much time. And yeah, so here we go. Here we are. We've got our little briefing and we can give it to the CEO. Okay. And no, guys, I know that was a lot. And then I would hit create because I like it, and I would hit only me, and I would hit save. And now I've just got 2 new GPTs that I can use. Yep. And we're done. Okay. So let's go back to our presentation. All right. So one of the things that I just wanted to throw out there, guys, for you is that this was a lot, right? I know, a lot to do, and you're going to get the overview and all of that. But the thought here is that I want to work with you and just do a workshop, half day, full day, depending on whether it's you or it's you and your team. And all you would need to do in advance is buy the ChatGPT Pro, because you cannot do this on the free version. You have to have the pro version, which is $20 a month, which is like nothing. Okay. And then we would build your master prompt. We brainstorm key workflows. We'd prioritize what GPTs would be great. We'd look at those workflows and build out those workflows. And you would go home with, at minimum, 3 custom GPTs, and you would have the skills to build more. Right. So that's sort of like your next step to think about. And I just did an ROI for you because that's who I am. And it's basically saying, like, listen, if it saved you 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month at $150 an hour, which most of you guys are worth more than that, you would recoup your costs within a month. And you'd have, the skills and the GPTs forever. And then, you'll get the deck. Here's, QR codes and links if you want to either book your workshop or just book a call with me. We can talk specifically about, what you need, or, and I'm open. All right. So now I'm super excited. Okay. So the giveaway. So let's go in the chat, and I want you guys to, whoever's still here, 20 people. Yay. So we're going to go in. You guys have a 5% chance of winning. That's pretty exciting. Okay. So, pick a number between 1 and 20 1 and 100 without going over. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go, and just put it in. Okay, Lisa, perfect. All right. So everybody put your number in the chat. Awesome. Okay. We're almost there. I think that's everyone. All right. So Noelle, it looks like you were the last one. So anybody who's after Noelle is not being heard. Okay. So basically, I had already picked the number. It's 56. Sorry, I don't know what that weird thing was, but it was 56. So whoever is closest to 56 without going over. Ooh, Dawn, you were close. 50, Noelle is close. Oh, Angie, 1 over. Ooh, 51. 51, 50. Stacey, it might be. Right. I'll make sure I find out. But the bottom line is, guys, is that what I'm going to do, because we only have like 2 minutes and I'm conscious about time, is I'm going to send you the deck. I'm going to send you a copy of the webinar. I'm going to look at all of your questions that were in the chat, and I'm going to answer them. You're going to have my, ways to get a hold of me and options to move forward. And I really, really hope to work together. And I hope you guys learned something today. Thanks for coming. All right, so let's go in the chat and verify here. Okay, so. And 50. Okay. I saw 50, but I think it might be 51, Stacey. All right, so I think Stacey won. Yay, Stacey. Okay, so I'm going to reach out to you personally, Stacey, and we are going to schedule your workshop in the next 24 hours, and it's going to be awesome. Okay, I'm going to look forward to it. All right,
Sounds
thanks,
great.
everybody.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. I can't wait. All right, thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.